Hey, Thrive Loud listeners. This is Anna, the intern, the one who really keeps Thrive Loud thriving. I'm also here to let you know Lou's got another great interview coming up. But first, make sure to subscribe to Thrive Loud on either iTunes or Overcast. And if you're an Overcast listener, make sure to click the gold star to recommend our show. And if you want to learn about future episodes and other great things happening with Thrive Loud, go to thrivepartners.net and fill out the Get Connected form at either the top or bottom of the page. Okay, thanks again, and let's get on with the show.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today we have the incredible, empowering, and energetic Stacey Hanke. Hi, Stacey. How are you?
Hey, Lou. Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity and taking the time to do this.
This is truly my pleasure, and I'm going to share with the Thrive Loud listeners who you are, if that's okay with you.
I love it.
Okay. So Stacey is the founder of Stacey Hanke Incorporated. She has trained and presented to thousands to rid business leaders of bad body language habits and to choose words wisely in the financial industry, to the healthcare industry, to government, and everyone in between. Her client list is vast, from Coca-Cola, FedEx, Kohl's, United States Army, Navy, and Air Force. You skipped out the Marines. I feel like I should jump into jingles. Publicis Media Nationwide, U.S. Cellular, Pfizer, GE, General Mills, and AbbVie. I think I got that right. Her team works with directors all the way up to the C-suite level. Stacey Hanke is the author of the book Influence Redefined. Be the leader you were meant to be, Monday to Monday. She is also co-author of the book Yes, You Can, Everything You Need from A to Z to Influence Others to Take Action. She has inspired thousands as a featured guest on media outlets including the New York Times, Forbes, Smart Money Magazine, Business Week, Lifetime Network, Chicago WGN, and WLSAM Radio. And Thrive Loud listeners, I am very proud to bring you also a C-suite network advisor, Miss Stacey Hanke. Stacey.
You did that very well. Thank you for the setup.
You know, I can read fairly well, and I'm also very glad whenever I deal with people who have very well prepared bios. So I always start off every show, Stacey, quickly saying how I know our particular guest here. And Stacey and I met very recently. We were both in Dallas, Texas at the C-Suite Network conference. And both of us actually our books were being featured while we were there. And it was a lot of fun, right? We had a good time that whole
good time
bit. I would say so. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Most notably, and I think maybe what sparked our whole conversation is how well put together you are. You know, obviously you're a very attractive individual, but you dressed and coordinated. You even coordinated with all your book cover and everything. I was actually pretty impressed with either you, your publicist, or just complete coincidence.
There was a little bit of coincidence there because our readers are thinking, who is this woman? That is like the oddest thing I may have heard. But for clarification for our listeners, red, black, and gray, our company brand. And I believe that, awesome. Yeah, we really do walk the talk. A lot of it, I love the red. On the day you met me, it just so happened. And I think you brought it up to me that there were colors from the book cover that I was wearing. I didn't fully recognize that until numerous people brought it up. That's maybe how innate it is.
It also matches the brand and you very well. And I'd also say, as I said, there were a lot of books that came out that day that were at the book signing, whatever the specialty thing that we had, and yours is one that I'm actually reading. So I'm halfway through, full honesty. At this point, hopefully by the time we air this, I would have completed it. And I like it. And I'm hearing your voice as I read it, which is a good thing. So that's always good when you get a chance to know an author like you. So let's talk about that. Explain to our listeners how this particular topic came about for your book and how everything's going with it, because it's exciting. I know you seemed excited with everything coming out too. So let me hear from you on that.
It's exciting. The book is really the core to the 15 plus years that we started the business. I say we because there's more than just me in the company. And it was what we found with leaders that there's such a misperception around what influence is and what it's not. There's a misperception around, well, based on my title, that's what determines the level of influence I have. Or I feel good, I communicate all the time, therefore I must be influential. And after repeatedly realizing that if individuals are not seeing themselves through the eyes and ears of their listeners on a regular basis, there's a big disconnect around, are we influential or aren't we influential? The book, Lou, is based off of a good solid 4 years is when I really started doing a lot of the research, a lot of top influencers, interviews, and that's how the book really got evolved. So there's a lot of experience that gets put in the book, but it's real life experience with real individuals that struggle with this topic, yet weren't aware that there was opportunities for them to improve.
So I'm a little bit into the book, and I know our listeners will also enjoy it as well. Give us some of the main key points that you want listeners to take away from it and leaders to really understand the benefit of what you're writing about.
The very first is knowing what influence is and what it's not. Therefore, the title, Influence Redefined. Influence is not you turn the stuff on when you need to. And we've all been there. We've seen people do it. Influence really is that your body language and your messaging is consistent Monday to Monday, every day of the week. And that you've got this ability to influence individuals to take action long after the interaction occurs.
So I'm going to jump in right here. So tell me why your week goes Monday to Monday. and it is interesting because I definitely am the week starts on Sunday type of a thing. You know, when is it next week? Tell me where you get that from, or that's how your mindset is.
Yeah, the mindset really is because we're always working in the corporate world, and they really always looked at it as Monday to Monday. They always looked at, well, that's when my work week starts. But we didn't want to say, well, it's just the work week. It's not just Monday to Friday. You've got to include the weekend in there because even on the weekend, you're having conversations, your reputation is constantly built. And that's really why we went Monday to Monday rather than Sunday to Sunday. Then, Lou, you get it. There's a marketing piece to it. Monday to Monday flows a lot better than Sunday to Sunday.
Okay, I was trying to see if there was something more deeper to it, but that makes sense.
That's it.
So you do some great work in help, and I listed all of those companies that you've been helping from a communication perspective, and you've had the chance to observe great leaders communicate. Give me some of the highlights, or maybe more notably, some of the companies that you're working with and how you're translating this message and better understand how to redefine influence to those leaders.
Some of the companies that I'm sure you and your listeners will be aware of nationwide. General Mills currently is a big client of ours. Kohl's, we tap into the retailer. FedEx, Walmart, McDonald's here in Chicago, to name a few. I think where we're really able to get the buy-in is, you heard me say it earlier, we want these leaders to be able to see through the eyes and ears of their listeners. And whether it's our keynotes, mentoring, or our workshops, we are giving those individuals the opportunity to record each other, for us to record them, for them to get feedback on the fly and in the moment, as well as to then watch the playback. I tie it a lot to sports just because I'm a big sports fanatic. I tie it a lot when individuals don't quite understand that concept. I'll always say to them, any sport you've ever played, if you get video recorded during your coaching lesson, say it's a tennis lesson or a golf lesson, and the coach is telling you one thing, but your subconscious is saying, no, I can't move my body that way. I can't swing the club that way. And we rely so heavily on how we feel rather than what fact is proving. Yet if that golf coach starts video recording you and then you watch the playback, that's where the moment of change, the moment of learning will occur. And we do the same thing in our services that we offer.
Stacey, I'm going to call you out on this because one, I golf and I've seen video of myself, and usually when I see video of myself golfing, I just want to throw the clubs away. I do not need to see myself looking the way I swing. And if I think too much of it, but actually that gets to a good point. I'm partially kidding.
Yeah.
The main piece that I'd love to know, and there's almost like paralysis by overanalysis, and if you do too much of that, now in a lot of the things that you're actually helping to analyze, how do you get people to not necessarily focus on just the specific challenge they're going through, but also to get to understand the whole package? What's your coaching style, I guess, in that, your company's coaching style, and the way that you help them understand the bigger picture?
Mm-hmm. We have to break it down into pieces, right? That's why it's easiest to compare it to a golf swing. You don't learn how to play 18 holes on your first lesson. Never going to happen. But we really break it down, and most importantly, we keep it to their style. One thing we're known for is we will not make you someone that you're not. It's just not my style. I don't think it works. I do believe, though, that you've got to be able to break down what specifically works for you, whether that's how you put a message together, whether it's how you connect, how you engage with individuals. And then we still want to enhance that. I don't think we ever stop learning with these skill sets. We can always be better influencers and more influential and better communicators. And then from there, we also talk about what's getting in the way of the best of you. And that's usually the distractions, Lou, that we create, whether it's through our delivery, whether it's through our word choice. Once we dissect both of those, then we break it down into, all right, how can you practice this every day a week, yet break down each skill without being overwhelming? And it goes back to the concept of practice every skill every day, practice one at a time.
Yeah, and I've actually watched, if you go to StaceyHanke.com, you could actually see some of the clips of Stacey in action and in some of her presentations. And that's one of the things that you hit on is the practice component of it. I guess I wanted to ask, what are some of the top communication challenges that you observe in others? Is there one over another that you see, whether in leaders or top salespeople or performers, that sticks out more often than not?
It's the lack of brevity and clarity. We love to believe that the more we say, the smarter we are, the more knowledgeable we come across. We ramble, we say too much, we frustrate our listeners, we use words that are out of context. Sometimes they're known as filler words, yet we don't realize we do it. And I'm so caught up, Lou, with how can we be executing a behavior, yet we're not aware of it. And sometimes it goes back to when we're in a conversation, and I'll challenge our listeners thinking about any conversation they've been up to this point of the week. How many of them really think about, well, I wonder what my eyes are doing. I wonder how I'm sitting. We don't think that way. We think about the more I say, I've got to get every word right. And I'm not saying content's not important. That's just one element, though, of influence. And that's probably the biggest struggle people have next to really being able to connect and engage.
Well, you're literally preaching to the choir here, obviously, in the sense that I'm all about connecting, but more notably in some of the coaching that I do with my clients in helping them listen better to their customers and to their employees. And, I always use the adage, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them proportionally. And too often people feel we need to say stuff just to fill the air when we're not actually thinking about what we need to say. And as you know, when I sign off this show, I say, be brief, be bright, be gone, and literally get to the point. So I'm with you. I'm not only drinking the Kool-Aid, I'm serving it worldwide. So I'm on the page there. So they're talking too much. Are there any other, I don't want to say common problems or things that you see more often that are the easier fixes that you're able to help with versus some of the tougher ones?
The easier fixes is increasing awareness. I think that's step number 1. And that's the first element to the model that's in the book, Influence Redefined. The very first step, I believe, is self-awareness. It's being aware that when you're in a conversation, if you're doing something, body language, or your message is causing it harder for your listener to listen to you, that you're able to change it on the fly. I really believe that if we are not self-aware, there's a good chance we're basing how we come across, how people perceive us, off of feeling rather than off of fact.
I love it. And go straight to the point. I think what always resonates with me about great communication and great communicators from leaders are the ones who you can see when they deliver the key message, they've made that particular vocal point come out at that point. It's the ones who are great kind of chop off the little fodder that adds up to it and just hit the big message there. I actually remembered years ago, I saw Maya Angelou, flipped her name around. I heard her speak, and she only spoke for about 15 minutes, and I don't even think she uttered more words than fit on one piece of paper, but it was so powerful. And really, every single word that she uttered was straight to the point. And I think if we could all get to that, right, that would be then you and I wouldn't have a place in the workplace. I guess
that's true. We would lose some job security here. It's knowing that when you can net through your message, get rid of the words that are unnecessary, they don't have context, they distract the listener. When you can net through that, what you do leave behind for your listener will have more impact.
We are talking with Stacey Hanke from Stacey Hanke Incorporated, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about. Stacey was rewinding the clock a little bit here, and you've been doing this for a while. We had a quick conversation about this. You told me it's going on 15 years, right? I think, is that how long it's been around? Which means you started this in high school.
That's right.
And so can we rewind a little bit and talk about some of the journey on how it all got started? And how we got to where we are today? Do you want to go that route?
I would love to, because I use this a lot with how I got started, and it was a slap in my face to realize, all right, I feel good when I communicate. That doesn't mean I'm good. I started in radio. I wanted to be the next Katie Couric. That apparently did not happen because I'm here with you today, Lou.
Well, first of all, you're winning in that particular situation. I just want to make it clear.
I did that for a while, and then I moved into corporate world, and I was always in training and development. One of the companies I worked with, I was their MC for their events, which means I would introduce the speakers, get the audience all motivated. I was very young in my career. I remember a lot of the feedback anytime I would ask, how did I do? I would get the response, good, nice job. And I had a big ego. I really thought, wow, I'm so young and I'm getting all this feedback, how great I was. Well, it was our national sales conference. I was going to kick off the conference in front of hundreds of people. And my boss / mentor at the time said to me, right before I went on stage, we should record you. And I remember thinking, why would you want to record me? I'm good. I don't need to. And it really came down to your job relies on it. We're recording you. Therefore, I agreed. And at that point, I was making the mistake, Lou. I would write down word for word the speaker's bio on an index card. And my coach, my boss kept saying, you're going to get nervous. There'll be a day you'll drop the cards. I was in denial. And when you know it, I'm standing up on the stage. There's a podium to my right. I have the cards in my hand, and I drop the cards. As clueless as I was, my reaction was to take my right foot and shuffle the cards underneath the podium as if no one saw them. I mean, that's
right.
Clueless. Now, keep in mind, I'm being recorded. I get off stage. I still can see the conference room that we're sitting in together, me and my boss, to review the playback. We maybe get 30 seconds into that playback. He turns to me and he asked, would you want to sit through that?
Wow.
And I remember thinking, well, that was a knife to the back. But the big takeaway there at that point was, wow, there is really a disconnect between what I'm experiencing consciously, unconsciously, versus how my listeners are experiencing the message and experiencing me. And from that point forward, I moved to Chicago. That would have been 18 years ago. I worked for a firm that I traveled international, teaching people how to present. That was our job. I remember, Lou, I'd come back on those long trips thinking, this isn't right. Why would I teach someone how to present when they're not even going to be standing up in front of a group presenting? And that was my big shift then. A few years after that, 15 years with the business growing strong, I realized it's not about standing up and turning this stuff on. It is truly, how does someone experience you every day of the week? That determines the results, the profit, the money in your pocket, and who's following you and who's not.
It's right on. And I love this story, by the way, with the dropping of the cards. I often, and the videotaping and recording of yourself is very important. I was kidding earlier when I was making light of it. It is really important to actually see what you're like. You can get a little crazy with it, because you're like, oh, well, the way I look or the way I do this. Even in this forum, in the podcast forum, I listen to my earlier shows, and even certain things that I did in the beginning, I do that much better now. Make it more conversational or be more authentic. But to your point, when you know the audience, when you're acting that way every single day, when you're always on, I guess, or knowing how to be on, it's the constant practice that you're doing. You're doing it in every form, not just being on stage worrying about the cards, doing it in everything that you do in your everyday life. And which is really annoying most of my family members because I'm pretending I'm on the podcast show every 5 minutes. But but at least, and I don't have to worry about whether I drop cards or not. That being said, I've emceed as well. And by the way, one of the most underestimated skills and important things is the ability as a great leader to have been in that role to MC an event and actually manage speaking an event or a conference or whatnot, because I've done it several times. I've done it for charity events, and the importance of that person, not so much all the other people that are speaking and all the other activities, but the one that's navigating and making that experience great, is all part of it. And having those same skill sets is key. So it's a great learning experience that you started from. And
it's powerful. And if there's one thing that our listeners could take away, and this is where people turn up their nose, they kind of roll their eyes, it's on a regular basis, audio taping yourself, video recording yourself. We have the technology to do it. Our smartphones. What I always recommend, and this is something I still do, my team still does it. When I'm on a call with a client, I'll record myself and then I'll listen to it. And I'm really dissecting, how do I sound versus what I thought? What words are unnecessarily? Where did I skip the beat where I did not adapt to my listeners' questions, my listeners' responses? If our listeners could start doing that on a regular basis, that's where consistency builds. I want to go back to, you made a comment about your friends, your family. That's where I learned these skills. I didn't learn them and then stand up in front of a group and try to deliver them for the first time. I really knew that if I could enhance my communication, no matter what type of medium I was using, no matter who I was talking to, when the stakes are really high, like a podcast, like a presentation, that's not the time I should be thinking about, all right, do I have brevity? Am I using pauses? Do it all the time, because really during this message, I'm really listening to your question, really watching the time frame, listening to thinking about what the listener really wants to hear. That's a whole nother level of influence and a whole nother level of focus. But without the actual skills, core skills to that golf swing, I don't think you can play those 18 holes effectively.
It becomes muscle memory. And that's what you're doing. And it's really interesting as I'm listening to, because I am listening intently to Stacey Hanke and her very polished way of communicating, your pace is something that I've picked up on, is the fact that in each one of the circumstances when you are speaking, there is a balance. If I were to look at it as a musical composition and notes, I'm kind of graphic and visual the way I look at things. It's staying on key the entire time. It's keeping pace almost with the metronome, and between each one of your points. And that is, it's nice to listen to. If you've listened to people that are choppy or off key or speak really quickly at a time and then are talking really slowly, these are things that actually can distract you and get away from the message that's behind it. So you do an excellent job of it. You must be a professional at this. Huh?
It's really practice. And one thing I don't want your listeners to think, I am a work in progress myself. I have speech coaches. I have accountability partners. It's not something that suddenly you shake off and say, I got it. I'm perfect at it. I think this comment is applied to anything that we do in our career, personal lives, is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. No matter what you're trying to develop. And that's where you're going to accelerate the most. To the point now, I was reading, I don't know if I shared this with you, Lou, John Addison, I follow a lot of his material. He's a CEO for Prime America. His recent book is Real Leadership. And he talks a lot about this idea of get comfortable being uncomfortable, that leaders crave discomfort, that you start to crave that discomfort because you know that's when you're going to develop. Even though you might not like it in the moment, it's very vulnerable. You know, on the other side, that's where this whole idea of results and this whole idea of influence starts to evolve.
I love this point. This is when I'm working with people who are having trouble getting out of their comfort zone and extending themselves and stretching themselves so they can grow. They get to that other point and they get to the uncomfortable thing and they realize how amazing it is. And that anticipation is what's actually, or fear, is what's holding them back from doing that. When you work with the most amazing people, the ones that are constantly putting things to a new level, their level of discomfort is when they are comfortable, when they literally need to get uncomfortable. And it's one of the funnier things, and that is true. And that's a great spot to recognize, like, oh my God, wait a minute. Things are going too well. Things are too cushy right now. I need to be learning something. And if we all have that in us, it's just a matter of knowing how to identify that. And as you say, knowing when to define it. Which is really cool. But this is exciting stuff, and you got me all jacked up. I'm all.
I think it's a matter of not only learning to recognize it, but then you have to decide what to do with it.
And not only what to do with it, but also be able to your earlier point, make it yours. Everyone who learns these different skills or things to keep that authentic you version of it, take these skills and channel it into whatever work you do. You don't have to be a keynote speaker or an MC like you and I play the role of when we choose to. You can be within your internal meetings or the friends that you work with, your circles of work. It can be in those particular places. It does not only have to be those that have to be presenting in front of large audiences. And I think that is one of the most important messages and what really helps to make us better every day.
That's exactly right. I tell individuals, this isn't about changing you. The book is not written to make you something that you're not. It's about making sure that you show up every day, but it's the best of you that's showing up every day.
Love it. So if there's one takeaway you want the Thrive Loud listeners to remember, and there's been a lot of messages here, if there's one that sticks out, what would that one be? That one takeaway be? See, I stumbled on my words there. I'm okay with it. I dropped my cards. I'm totally fine.
Here I'm sitting, Lou. I want to negotiate. Just one? Are you sure just one?
I made at least 12 mistakes, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to tie two of them together. I guess that's a little cheating, perhaps.
You can do that. You can give two takeaways. You know what? You've earned it, Stacey. Give us two takeaways.
It goes to, I referenced there's 3 drivers of influence that make up the model in the book. And one of the final ones, too, the third driver is accountability. I don't think we can improve in anything in life, even outside of influence, without accountability partners, individuals that help hold us accountable, because we all know what doesn't get measured doesn't get acted upon. And what they can help hold you accountable on is, how are you daily thinking, practicing? And that ties to, here's the cheat, the second one. I said it earlier, everything that's in that book, I only think it really works if you're audio and you're recording yourself and you're experiencing yourself weekly, monthly, through the eyes and ears of your listener.
You and I are going to have to go work out a sponsorship with one of the audio or video recording companies and just market it, is what we'll have to do.
I like it.
But I love this takeaway, and I think it's great for the Thrive Loud listeners to know. So, Stacey, what's the app on your phone that you can't live without?
Now, I know you asked me this question before, and I think I might have said I was struggling between Spotify.
That's what you told me. But if there's another one, because you seem to be taking, if I ask for one, you're going to give me two. So, Stacey, bring it on.
Talk about poor communication here. Well, I tie the Spotify to, I've got a Nike app. It's a fitness app. So those two together, I can't live without them. And you get it. You travel a lot. Those are like our go-tos.
Knowing that I listen to music. It's interesting, though, I guess because I've been listening to a lot of podcasting. So I guess I've been listening to more of that. But now Spotify has the ability to do that. They have their own podcast network. So.
That's right.
Okay, Stacey, real important question for you here. What is your favorite movie?
This is 40. And it's because of the humor. Not only that, we're all going to go through that. We're all able to relate to that movie.
This is, it's funny. I've seen it. It's good. It's got some ups, it's downs. It's a little bit sad at times, actually, a little scary, and specifically for those that are over 40. But I'm actually really proud of you that you actually just came up with one movie as opposed to giving me, 2 takeaways and 2 apps on your phone, So, but I do love Spotify, so I'm going to make sure that I put that up there. One day, this whole compilation will come out in some summary of all of my podcast folks and the ultimate movie list from some great leaders like you.
That is. You're going to have
maybe that's
You're going to have a powerful app list by asking that question of everyone that you've interviewed.
You're starting to catch on to my trend here, Stacey. Stacey, how can everybody find you? Where's all the social media outlets, websites, etc., Facebook, places to find you?
Make it easy for them. Go to the website. I'll give you that address in a moment, and that's where everything is. The social media resources. It's simply my name on the site. It's Stacey with an EY, HANKEINC.com.
Perfect. And everything is there. StaceyHankeInc.com. And I think it follows that way in all social media as well, which is great. Stacey, this was fun and painless, right? You lived through it.
No, you're a good interviewer. Thanks for doing it, for taking the time and allowing me to get a chance to meet all your viewers.
If they were viewing things, my goodness, they'd be really upset. But at least the listeners are there too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. It was great having you.
Thank you, Lou.
So thank you for joining us. And until next week, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Thrive Loud, or find us on the web at thrivepartners.net.